Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Philly Fan Radio. I'm John Myer, along with Dan Palmieri, and today we're actually going to be talking about a number of things. First, we would like to recap the Eagles versus the Lions game, which everybody came in and had the Lions really kicking our ass for it. But in this case, it was totally different, so we're also going to have to talk about some more drama that's happening in the Eagles organization. Needless to say, I don't think there was any specific AJ drama this time around, but it's still early in the week, so you never know. There's other drama happening, there's some injuries, and then we're going to do the predictions for next week's game. Okay, Dan, let's jump into it. What was your overall feeling on this game from start to, say, halftime? Let's just go there.
It was kind of a wash, rinse, repeat of the Green Bay game for me. The defense just really, I was shocked. I thought that they'd have trouble with the offense of Detroit, especially since Detroit, I didn't think they'd run against us, but I thought that they'd be able to pass against us only because I didn't, we've only seen this rotation of pass rushers for 2 games now. And I mean, it's like night and day. We both have been saying all year that the best way that you're going to mask a deficient secondary because of our cornerback 2 spot is to get a pass rush, and we weren't getting that. And now that we're getting that, we're seeing improved secondary play. So, I mean, really, really impressed with the defense, and the offense just seems lost again. This offensive game took on a different attitude, like a different what do you say?
Is it a different feeling from overall?
Yeah, because of the fact that you could tell that they were forcing it. And you can tell that basically they listened to the media. Yeah, they listened to the media, and we were kind of talking about it before. I mean, it's like one of those instances where the squeaky wheel gets the grease, They're just forcing it to them now, and that's not the way the offense should run, especially when Devontae Smith was killing it, and all of a sudden he's now getting like 2 targets a game. And it's just, I watched the game, I was there, I watched the game, and I didn't see, A.J. Brown in the past is a killer against man coverage. I didn't see him get open at all. He didn't have any separation, and I don't know what that means. I mean, I don't care what the scheme is, to be honest with you. A.J. Brown should be getting separation against man coverage because he's that much better, and he's not. And he just seems unhappy. He's giving up on routes, and I don't know what they can do about it. I personally would sit him for a series or 2. We actually saw that with Dallas last night. They sat their wide receivers because of disciplinary things. I don't know what the hell it was about, but you cannot tell me that the organization is not watching this tape and seeing what we're seeing. They are, and whether or not they're just afraid to take action on it because of the ramifications, I don't know, but it's spiraling now, and I hope that it doesn't continue this way, because you're not going to get to a Super Bowl pandering to a person that just complains.
I think you nailed it. The squeaky, wheel gets most of the attention. And one of the biggest things in this game, I saw too many forced targets to AJ. And while AJ should catch those, is it a Jalen thing, trying to force it, meaning the pass really wasn't there, but I'm just going to try to squeeze it in, which causes a lot of turnovers or mistakes to happen. And I don't really care for target numbers. And we talked about this before. I don't care if he's targeted 100 times. It's when and where is he in the progression in order to be targeted. And it's also the playmaker. You mentioned it, and we all saw it, and we heard it on the TV as well, basically saying, they were booing or feeling really down about AJ in his route running in a couple of instances where he just let up. He didn't go all the way down for it, or he's not getting open. When Hurts has to maybe scramble or do some things, we've seen time and time again on the tape is where the receivers or the playmakers are standing still in the spot that they're supposed to be for the play instead of doing a scramble drill to get open.
Yeah, completely agree. And, it's disheartening because, they practice the scramble drills. and I can't. It's frustrating to me. I'm sure it's frustrating to you. I can't put a finger on it. This offense should be able to run the ball effectively. And, the one thing that I will say is I have been giving Saquon a pass for the year because I really don't think it's him overall. I think it's the line. But there were so many times in this game where he should just put his head down and move forward and run up the middle. And he's actually sitting there like trying to juke somebody or trying to make a move. And he's actually losing yards, whereas he could gain like 3 yards. So he's trying to make the home run and it's just not there. And I think as the season's gone on, I think you're seeing that a lot, is that everybody's trying to hit the big one and they're trying to overcompensate by just making that extra, whatever, when it should just be down to just execute and it'll eventually come. And it's not. And other than AJ, I see a lot of effort. It's just not there. It's whether it be play calling, And I will say, we've been giving Jalen a pass for the most part. These last 2 games, he's been bad. His accuracy's been off. He just hasn't looked himself. Don't know the reasoning why, but it hasn't been good. And, it's just a culmination of things at this point.
Let's talk about the Saquon thing just a little bit. And you and I were talking offline in where Saquon is trying to make those home runs be what he was last year. In a couple of instances, he's broken free. And he's only done that once a game. Occasionally, his biggest play came last week for 40-some yards, 41 yards. And I think, just like you said, put your head down, get those 3 to 4 yards. I will be happy, and I think everybody happy, 4 to 5 yards. You're getting in there. There have been a number of instances where he is stuck behind his lineman. He's running into Mailata. He's running into Jurgens. He's not is that not where they're supposed to be if they're off on it? I don't understand why we don't do more swing passes to him or he's running to the outside. Look at the difference that Tank Bigsby is making. When Tank gets it, I'm seeing a lot more opportunities. Why is it those opportunities not the same ones for Saquon? Barely do I ever see Tank getting hit in the backfield for negative 2 or 3 yards, and that seems to be happening too often in these games with Saquon.
Yeah, I completely agree. Tank Bigsby is a nice change of pace. He's actually, putting his head down and he's getting some better blocking on the perimeter, hard running. I think that he should probably get a little more carries, not because Saquon isn't good, obviously, but just because I think that it'll keep Saquon fresher, and I think
it'll switch it up. The defense won't be prepared for it.
Yeah, and watching the game, how do I put this? The Lions showed nothing but disrespect for the Eagles' offense. And what I mean by that is they had 8 men in that box within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage every single play. Single high safety. They basically said, we know your receivers aren't going to beat us man-to-man. And they just played straight up man-to-man. And unfortunately, nobody did. Nobody beat their guy. There wasn't, he took a lot of shots this game, being Jalen. He went down the field. He tried. But there wasn't one instance where I could say, that guy was really open. That guy had separation. There's nothing there. He has to make a perfect pass or the receiver has to make a miraculous catch in order to move the ball downfield because nobody's getting open.
I think one of the things also with the receivers is that in the first series alone, we started passing. It was immediate passing. I don't think we went to the ground game right away, but they were like 2 to 3 drop passes, and it wasn't just AJ, Devontae, Goddard, all of them drop passes for it. Now, should they catch that? Yeah, he came back. Devontae came back on a route and maybe should have had it. Now, we can analyze the tape as much as possible, but there could have been a hand somewhere. It doesn't matter on that. Goddard had some, and normally he's a given where he's going to get it. I think we forced it to AJ this time around, and we left Devontae and Goddard hanging out there, not, utilize them. And it's the problem with that is that you're force feeding it, and you're going to force feed mistakes.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's going to start turning into turnovers. They already rolled the safety to AJ's side, but it's going to start, basically, they're going to start jumping routes because they know that, you know, it's going to be forced to him. And it's just not the way you run an effective offense. I mean, they've had trouble enough when they were trying to not force him the ball or they weren't passing the ball. And now you're going to start becoming that much more predictable. It's not going to help, you know. They have to run some crossing patterns, something to beat this man coverage because it's clear, you know, AJ, I don't know if it's his attitude, I don't know if physically, but even when he catches the ball, when's the last time we saw AJ like stiff arm somebody or carry tacklers? He's just not physically.
He goes down.
Yeah, he does.
If you looked at last year's game against the Lions, it was an AJ show where he was physical manhandling them. This year, nope, not at all. He goes down, he gives up, he runs out to the side. It's like he's only putting in about 60% of the effort, and that's a given.
Yeah, and that's a problem. That is a major problem, and they're not going to get to the Super Bowl with that kind of lack of effort, and it's on the coaching staff to figure out what the hell's going on. I mean, you're with the Eagles. You're going to be with the Eagles. You have a chance here to do something that most teams, you know, it's only been done a handful of times, which is go back to back. What the hell else do you want? You're going to get forced the ball. You got forced the ball. Are you happy now? Because the offense looked even worse than it has in weeks. Are you happy that you got forced the ball?
I think he is happy because I haven't seen a tweet or anything on there, though Twitter was down this morning, so maybe that would cause some of a delay for his responses. But
well, if you read the report, you know, there's so many reports coming out, but if you read the report, he had a meeting with the owner, Jeffrey Lurie, and supposedly coming out of that report is that Jeffrey Lurie flat out asked him to stay off social media. And, you know, that's a good thing, but it shouldn't have taken the owner to come down and say, hey, cut the shit.
Sirianni should have jumped in there. Hell, Petula should have manned up and been the offensive coordinator that he's got the title for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's becoming you're managing personalities rather than managing a game plan. And I'm glad that they're winning, but as we've said offline, online, an 8-2 team should not be generating this much noise from inside the locker room. And I'm telling you right now, these reports, I think some of them are fabricated. Well, not fabricated. I think they're exaggerated, but somebody needs to stand
draw
up.
out the drama.
Yeah, well, somebody needs to stand up in the middle of the room and say, cut the shit. Whoever's leaking these reports, cut the shit, because if you don't stop, we're not going to go anywhere. And it's got to stop.
Now, Dan, are you talking about, I know Derek Gunn, who is a longtime Eagles reporter, came out, and I don't think he came out and made this stuff up. That's the other thing, is that there have been reports from the inside that said Jalen, and they all sit there, they watch the tape, they come to an agreement on the play, the offensive, and what's going on, but then Jalen just pretty much does what he wants to do when he goes out there. I mean, I know we're all talking about this today from everywhere, and I actually had to turn it off because I was just so kind of annoyed of just hearing problem after problem with the Birds and what's going on and all the speculation and all the social media shit that's out there.
Yeah. Okay. I wrote down some things with Jalen, but what I'll say is that he is not a perfect quarterback. Nobody is, okay? Does he hold the ball for too long? Yes, he does hold the ball for too long. Does he sometimes make decisions that make us want to punch him in the face? Yes, he does. Does he miss open receivers? Yes, he does. But name me a quarterback that doesn't have these things. Everybody misses open receivers when you go back and you play every single play. You know, like we've said, maybe he wasn't the read on it. Maybe he just simply doesn't feel comfortable throwing the ball in that instance. And the problem is becoming that these reports are coming out saying Jalen's changing plays, Jalen's doing this, blah, blah, blah,
But he's a quarterback. Isn't that what he's supposed to do? I mean, look at me, and he's going to say, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Your guys are stuck with me. There's nothing you're going to do about it. And now Derek Gunn is mentioning and saying that it's also these reports and players are saying this, though.
Yeah, I'd like to know who, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like,
AJ
can we name
Brown,
some people to shut up?
AJ Brown actually has said the right things at his locker. Let me put it that way. Actually has thrown in support, saying, he Jalen has a lot of reads to go through. He has a lot of things to process. I'm not always going to be the read. That's fine. You know, I've never heard a player that they interview in the locker room that's said, Jalen has to make these reads. Jalen's not giving me the ball. Jalen switched up the play and it just didn't work. I'm not hearing any of this. So I'm interested to know who is saying these things because I just don't hear it. I don't think anybody's heard it. And again, an 8-2 team shouldn't have these things. Sirianni comes off as a hard ass to the media and stuff like that. He does come off aggressive, and you would think that he'd stand in front of the room and say, if you don't like the way we're running this offense and you got something to say about it, say it right now. Or if I figure out that you're going to social media, your ass is benched. Simple.
Now, what about did you see the interview with Jordan Mailata for WIP? Elliott Shore Parks was there. I'm not sure. Was it Joe Giglio or I forget who was actually on it, where they asked Mailata about this. And you could see that he was very uncomfortable answering it. And he wasn't going to lie, but he didn't come out and say it. He didn't say that it wasn't true. I mean, I guess if you don't say it's not true, then they think it's true. But I think he was uncomfortable answering the question on the way it was going and the route it would go and the possible implications of that Jalen is doing this or has said this or the people are unhappy with his decisions.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is that he did come out and kind of squash it when he said that he doesn't understand how that could be put out there when, if you watch the film, there's nothing there that's telling you that Jalen is going out of his way or doing something stupid. He's mentioned before, you watch the film and it's people missing blocks constantly, people making egregious execution errors, pre-snap things. He's going out of his way to say it's these other things, but he basically said, if you watch the tape, it's not all on Jalen. Yes, some of it could be on Jalen, but name me a team that doesn't have issues. I mean, Buffalo, the great Josh Allen, they blew out the Bucs, but previous weeks they were losing. They lost like 2 in a row. Detroit Lions, they were lighting the world on fire offensively. Where's Dan Campbell has to be the biggest moron in the world, by the way. But anyway, that team, I mean, you saw their offensive struggles. Green Bay, offensive struggles. Chicago, everybody has these offensive struggles, but yet you don't hear the national media coming out and saying, oh, people are talking behind Cable Williams' back or something like this. There's something here that needs to stop, and I don't understand what it is. And it seems so stupid that an 8-2 team coming off of a Super Bowl, this team is number 1 in the conference. This team is rounding into form in terms of defense to look like probably the best defense in the league. What more could you ask for? Yes, the offense is abysmal at times, but
I don't know. At times, in most cases, except the Giants games, the offense has just been. These last 2 games have been really horrible. Now, it could have been defensive games, but I'm still on the offense as we've never been happy with the offense since the beginning of the year. And one of the things that you mentioned about all this ship should be squashed with an 8-2 team, I think, first of all, the media, everybody we're talking about, we're on the fan perspective. So we're obviously going to bring it up in a little bit more. We're not going to skirt around some of our feelings for it because, hell, we're Philly fans. And one of the biggest things is that I really feel that Nick Sirianni should go to the players and say, hey, listen, we're not going to make it any further if we don't come together as a team. So if you've got issues, my office is open, or say it right here. Let's get it out in the open. Let's resolve this shit and move on as a team and show these people that our offense is as great as it looks on paper because, damn, we thought this offense was going to put up 30-some points in this game, and yet, well, you thought 20, but I thought 34. So anyway, but either way, they haven't put up over 20 points, in the last 2 games. So I really think it's an internal thing that needs to squash it. And anybody that's going to the media, I think at that point they should be benched, because if you're going behind your back, you're killing your team. You're basically poisoning it from the inside.
Yeah, that's pretty much the definition of conduct detrimental to the team.
Yep.
You're going out of your way to
I'm
demean
gonna
what they're
stick Big
doing.
Dom on him.
Yeah, well, he'll kick the shit out of them.
Yeah. He knows a guy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, granted, the offense on both sides of the ball pretty much sucked for this game, and we haven't even gotten to our defense yet, because I want to save some time for that, and we'll jump in there. Dan, I'm going to recap our predictions for this game real quick, and then I want to go over some of the stats of the game. And I know everybody's like, stats, there weren't any stats. Well, there were some great ones on the defense side, which we'll talk about. Dan, you had the Eagles losing 23-20, and I had the Eagles winning 34-24. And I won't tell the extra stuff yet, but I will admit that I am wrong in some things, like Saquon over 100 yards. But I don't think anybody predicted the low scoring of this game, at least for the past two games, the low scoring of it, because this has been really, I mean, I want some point. I don't want our offense so sluggish. I want to be able to go down the field and, put up the touchdown. Now, defense, we'll get there.
Yeah, and the one thing that really got to me in this game is that the Eagles' defense gave them a lot of short fields because of all the fourth downs that the Lions kept going for. And yet you only put up 16 points. I mean, there were a lot of opportunities out there for...
Now, did the win play a factor in some of those decisions where we don't have as lot of points because we either had a punt or we went for it?
It was swirling at times, and it was kind of unpredictable. But I think it does affect a person like Jalen Hurts, because he doesn't exactly throw the fastball. So his passes are more subject to take off with the wind, but I don't think it affected him enough to work on their short passing game. When's, just sit in the middle, catch the ball.
Yep.
So I think that it didn't have an effect on, but I mean, where they were getting the ball, it's basically get 2 first downs, and then you could start considering a field goal. And they weren't even doing that. I mean, it seemed like every time that they were getting some kind of momentum, it was, holding, tripping call. There was, false starts. It just seemed like it was always something that was coming up. And, their execution, everybody talks about it. Everybody's been talking about it all year. Their execution is not good. But at what point are you going to fix it? You've identified the problem is execution. You've had what are they 8-2? So you've had 10 weeks.
Games, 11 weeks, plus you had preseason.
You've had this, you should be able to execute whatever the game plan is that's put in place. And if you can't by now, then you got bigger issues. I mean, even if Kevin Petula is the worst play caller in the world, which he might very well be,
we haven't decided that yet, though. I mean, we've been up and down, up and down. Is it him? Is it not him? I don't think we've decided anything. Is that he's a good play caller or he's probably teetering towards the worst? But
I think he's an average play caller. But
that's horrible here in the NFL. I'm sorry. Like, that's a vanilla play call.
It is a vanilla play call, but his philosophy seems to be based on our men are better than your men, and we're going to win no matter if we call this basic route or this basic play. And his guys are just not winning. They are not. The offensive line is not winning, whether it be injuries or whatever that we'll get into. They're not winning. Saquon's not winning. Jalen has been very effective passing the ball, and what I mean by that, or efficient, what I'll mean by that is 16 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's not turning the ball over. So they're winning in that aspect, but their offense is conservative. And with the type of playmakers that we have, we should be the aggressors and not basically just sitting back and running this type of offense.
And I feel that we were much better last year when the RPO option Jalen could potentially run. There was one time in this game where I saw that it was the design run. I'm like, yep, he's going to run here. Because everybody was at the line, and they were ready to go. I think having Jalen as an option also spreads out that defense a little bit more, and understand that some guys got to stay in it. You only have Jalen running when he's forced out of the pocket, and at that point, everybody's coming up to kind of stop him. The other thing is there's nothing in the play calling except maybe the first series that looks unique or very like you're amazed that something's going to happen. But other than that, the rest of the game plan is we're reverting back to old school football. All right, run down slant. Here you go. Here's your option. Do this. There's no pre-motion, no, and that's also time management because they're not getting to the the line fast enough. But and
Agreed
then
with that.
also, when you look at it, it's 12 seconds when they get to the line, right? By the time they get to the line, settle down, he's only got 6 seconds to analyze the defense, maybe make a motion to see what defense is going to do. Other than that, he's got to snap the ball.
So I'm glad you brought that up because that's the thing that's baffling me with these reports. You know, everybody, not everybody, but the media saying, oh, well, he's going off on his own. He's doing his own things. I've seen routinely them snap the ball with 1 second left. And he's getting to the line, well, like you said, with 12 seconds left. How is he running his own offense when he doesn't have enough time to make an effective audible? You know, and in this game alone, where the hell was the hurry up? Why didn't we speed up the process? I mean, when was the only time that we ran the hurry up? At the end of the first
They do
half.
awesome when it's the hurry up. They're on the ball with it. They're ready to go.
Yeah, they ran the hurry up at the end of the first half because they were running out of time. Yep. When was their only offensive touchdown? At the end of the first half. So why didn't you run this more? And I don't know. There's got to be something that can jumpstart it. I believe that the hurry up would have worked greatly in this game, and for some reason they didn't go with it. And, you know, to say, that's the thing about going back to Jalen. I don't know how they can say he's running his own offense when, simply put, he doesn't have enough time to audible. So unless he's calling a different play than what's being radioed into him in the huddle, there's no opportunity for him to make a drastic change in the play.
Nope. Yeah, and so if he is running his own, first of all, I think as a quarterback, you're going to change up the plays anyway when you start to read what the defense is going to do. And I agree with you earlier when you said that Jalen, he decides a little bit slower. He's methodical at it. He's not going to force the pass in there. So if it's not a given or, you know, he's got to thread the needle occasionally or whatever it is, he's not jumping all over that to do it. And I think, I don't know, while somebody might be spreading these that he's doing his own thing, how do they know he's doing his own thing? Because it's only a one-way speaker, right, in their ear. So then, because they're like, hey, give me the call again. I need the call again. Well, what he's calling versus what they're doing, and he knows the play that has to go down versus what actually happens live is totally different. I think just there's a lot more unhappy people than what we know about internally on the way things are going. And I don't think it's a Jalen thing. I think it's a coaching thing.
Yeah, agreed. Someone has to be the adult and stand up and be like, this has to stop. And it appears as if nobody's being the adult or someone's not listening, you know, and I don't know how to fix it other than make an example out of the person. But if you don't know who the person is, then I just have a hard time with this whole situation. You know, AJ, whoever this is, what are you looking to gain by going behind everybody's back and making a social media thing? You're coming out as anonymous, so it's not like you want the recognition, but what are you to gain by going out to the media when you know that the media is going to publish it? So
I can understand if they were losing and they went out there and they put this out there because there is nothing to lose by putting this out there. But you are number one in the conference. You're 8-2. I don't know. I just think it's very detrimental. You want the team to do bad. It's like, you know, somebody inside is trying to corrupt the team.
Yeah, why?
Yeah,
Why?
exactly.
you do, these players, they get bonuses based on the playoffs and Super Bowls and conference
Yep.
championships. So you're only hurting yourself financially if you create this shitstorm. So it's,
Well, Dan, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk real quick. Lane Johnson, he was in for a little, and then all of a sudden he got an injury. He actually has to have surgery. He's 4 to 6 weeks out. Do we know? And there was some talks, and this was just speculation at this point on WIP, and I don't know if it was by Elliot Shore Parks who was mentioning that it potentially maybe Lane might retire afterwards because he's been injured on and off, and I still think he's one of the top offensive linemen. I think he is injured often. I think he does get a lot of injuries, but when you typically need him the most, he's there. I'm disappointed that he's not going to be there because their extra lineman package isn't really going to work as well as they did in the last two games.
yeah, I'll say this about the whole retirement thing. He ain't retiring, in my opinion. And I say that because if he was a guy that was contemplating retirement at all, would he have pushed and would he have pushed himself in this past game, the Packers game, when he
Yep.
was getting carted to the locker room and then all of a
A
sudden
little yellow
returns?
cart.
Yeah. Would he have pushed himself so hard to return to the field? I don't think so.
Nope.
So I don't see him retiring. It is a shame that he's often injured, but I will say this: a 75% Lane Johnson is a better than 100% other offensive tackles. So I'll take him.
Yep. And then Cam Jurgens was also out later in the game. So, oh,
I
go for it.
Well, no, I have an opinion about that. Cam Jurgens sucks right now. I'm going to put it bluntly. I watched the line. I watched everything, because I can't just watch a game to enjoy it. I have to be analytical there. He he's being speed rushed and he's letting guys go around, which is why they're having such a damn problem going up the middle because he just can't block jack shit right now. He is being pushed back, literally, even on run blocks. He's being pushed back at least a yard or 2 yards into the backfield, which I think could be a reason why you're seeing Saquon run into Mailata because Mailata is supposed to be like running around, making the cut block, sweeping around. And he can't do that when Jurgens' ass is right in the middle of it.
Yeah, he's running right into him.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Jurgens is just not playing well. And I think that I know he's not healthy. Let's put it that way. He was a great player last year. It's time to sit him and wait until he's 100% because he is not playing well. He's being speed rushed. He's being bull rushed. He's being everything, and he's just not playing well at all right now. It's really night and day the type of player that he was last year as to this year.
Now, one of the interesting parts was the tush push happened, 4 times in this game. Was only effective once. And the other time, and there were false starts it was a false start actually on 2 other ones, and then they were stopped on another. The one where the defensive lineman was across in the neutral zone, and was it Jurgens that tapped him, or was it
Steen?
Steen went and tapped him, and they're actually. So Nick was saying it today, Sirianni, about he doesn't know if he was taught or he educated him on or whatever it is, but they're told to tap them or whatever you're supposed to go on it. And even I think Gene, the head ref, said that you're allowed to, and that should have been an encroachment at that point or offsides. I agree. That was so we're gonna give that one to the Eagles should have had that, whatever it is. Now I don't think the tush push was as effective, but that also is the line, and that's one of the things where I don't think they got as much pressure as they should have. Starts with the center.
Well, so let me get your opinion on something now that you brought up the tush push. End of the game, I don't remember the timing, but whatever the timing was, they were at their own 36, 35, something like that. They were up by 10, and it was fourth and about a half a yard. What is your opinion? Would you have gone for it, or would you have punted the ball?
I would have punted it. And the reason I would have
Really?
punted it is because, well, so if you think about this, you're up by 10, right? You miss it. It's a 35-yard line for it. It would have been what, a 48, something like a yard
Yeah.
kick. The swirling winds might have played a factor, and it did earlier on with the extra point. I think for that point, and it's almost going into the same thing as the Packers game, is that if you punted it, you relied on your defense, who were pushing them 3 and out numerous times in this game.
See, everyone was saying that decision was egregious. I don't think it was that egregious because if I'm in Sirianni's, shoes, I think I would have done the same thing because all year you've been effective on the tush push. And if you can't get a
I
half
think he got in his
yard,
head, though, on
if
how
you
it went
can't get a
earlier.
half yard though, it's about showing confidence in your players. And if you get that tush push, then you're basically forcing them to burn their timeouts, and the game's pretty much over. I don't think it was that egregious of a decision there. I understand strategically you punt the ball, but I would have faith in our offense to get that half yard because they've been doing it all year. So
Yep.
I don't think it was a 4th and 6 and you just went for it because you're an idiot type of decision. I think it was justifiable that he went for it, and I honestly would have done the same thing.
All right. Well, Dan, I got to switch gears again. I want to save some time, and we are running out of time. We haven't even talked about the defense yet. First of all, I'm going to jump over to the defensive side. Holy shit, defense. Who would have thought the last 2 games this defense would look like a #1 defense in the league? There were 5 batted passes, right? Was it 5?
Yeah, between
They
just 2 defensive tackles.
Yes. So you had Davis and you had Carter. One of them was actually batted and for a pick by Cooper DeJean was freaking awesome. Jalen Phillips, holy shit, what a trade for him. He looks like a little kid in a candy store out there. He is completely robbing them of their, and this is what we looked for. This is what we needed. He is making a difference in this game. Hats off to Vic and what he has done with this defense, because now I have the confidence that they gave the offense so many chances for Jalen to take this ball down the field. There were 3 and outs left and right. There were stoppages, blocks. Amazing performance the last 2 games.
0-5 on 4th down.
Yep.
0-5.
Wow, there Dan Campbell going for that stuff, and they blocked it. It was completely just watching the defense now play. It's like now Dory Jackson was out there. He had a couple of missed, but he actually did decent in the most part of the game. I think we only saw Ringo in the special teams, by the way.
Yeah, and again, Adoree Jackson's being masked because they're getting pressure. So you have to throw it a lot
Only with
more.
the front 4, so.
Yeah, and credit to Vic Fangio because we talked about, all the defensive starters that left, and they're getting just as much production. And dare I say, this defense, the last 2 games, has looked better than it did last year. And it's really incredible to think about because, the front 4 was an issue, and now it seems like the front 4 has become an instant strength with Jalen Phillips and Brandon Graham. Nolan Smith comes back. Jalix Hunt all of a sudden looks like he's getting into form. Jalen Carter's going to be who he is. He's not getting the numbers, but he's disrupting everything up there. And Moro Jomo's been really good. So our front 4 is now finally becoming a means to be reckoned with. And, of course, you're not seeing as many blitzes because you don't have to blitz. So
Yep.
you're getting more men in coverage. You're able to cover more downfield. So, this defense is just, it's fun to watch. It really is. I just wish that the offense was half as fun.
Well, it's phenomenal to see because here's what happened. We're always talking about where Zach Bond is in the game because it's going into the second level. We don't hear Zach Bond's name often. He is there. We've seen him a bunch of times in this last game. But they're not even making it there because our front 4 is getting in. Jalen Phillips is getting up. What do you have? His first sack as an Eagle, too, in this game. It is just nice to see that our defense is so much better, and they can only get better from here on out because of the return of players.
Nakobe Dean is basically playing so well that you can't take him off the field.
Now, Nakobe, watching him, that was awesome just to see him everywhere. And he's been back for like 2 games. He has been phenomenal. It's like he got better during that time off, and there's no rust to shake off.
Yeah, he's been. I mean, our run defense has been fantastic since he's come back. So it's not a coincidence there. I mean, this was a team in Detroit that put up 255 yards rushing the ball in their last game, and I didn't see any sort of rushes go anywhere. The most effective thing that Detroit had was a swing pass out to Jahmyr Gibbs, who, my God, that guy's fast.
And
watching him live
everything
is ridiculous.
Like so there were a couple of instances that was horrible to watch. They just couldn't get him down there. It looked like they weren't sure what he was going to do. 4 or 5 Eagles around him, and he still got through it. But yeah, definitely. But he wasn't as productive as you would have thought.
Yeah, they stopped the run and they eliminated the play action. And I mean, Jared Goff, who led the league in completion percentage, was held to like 35% completion percentage.
Oh, yeah, he was
ridiculous.
horrible on his passes. I mean, you saw him everywhere. I'm like, wait a second, this looked like Jordan Love's type game. And and if you think about it, it's not even the QB that you got into the nerves of the QB. The defense got him there, and they were unsettled. They couldn't step up in the pocket. They had to get out. They had to throw passes earlier, or else they would get worse hit. It was just very phenomenal to see how quick they were doing in the defense and the press coverage that was happening. You didn't see too many playing off on it too much. You saw a couple of it, but just watching this defense perform in the last 2 weeks, it could only get better.
Yeah, you see the people that weren't playing as well in the beginning of the year are starting to play really good, and then you got the solids like Quinyon Mitchell, who's ridiculous. He is one of the best corners in the league, and it shouldn't surprise us.
And
at
he's
this
only
point,
on year 2, right? So
yeah, he's ridiculously good. I mean, Cooper DeJean, ridiculously good.
everybody was shouting his name, thinking he'd go in for a TD, though he was really close. But it was still fun to see him, and glad he got another one.
Yeah, he's always around the ball, and you don't hear anything about our safeties, which is always a good thing because that means that they're not going vertically. So, I mean, every level of this defense is now playing together, and they're playing well, and you can only be hopeful. I mean, I think that now the offense obviously is struggling, but I think that is the reason why we're not going to see a 2023 repeat, is because in 2023, if you remember, our defense was letting up like 7 drives in a row, touchdowns. Our defense couldn't stop anything. And that was when, we got rid of Sean Desai, and he was kind of just holding a clipboard, and it was Matt Patricia coming in there like mid-season. It was just a clusterfuck. And now we've got Vic Fangio and this defense. So as the offense continues to find whatever the hell that they're looking for, we know that we're going to be constantly in games because our defense is going to put us there. So all we need to do is have the offense somehow wake up and start scoring, 24, 27 points a game, and we're going to win those games because the defense is letting up, 10, 15, maybe 17 points a game. I mean, this defense is fun to watch, and it reminds me of Jim Johnson. It really does, with how effective they are. I was going to
say that. I was actually going to ask you, in comparison, how is this defense looking in the last 2 games to JJ's era?
Yeah, I mean, not as aggressive, not as many blitzes.
Oh, he would blitz every down.
I mean, but fundamentally,
yep,
and just fun to watch. I mean, there isn't a time that goes, there isn't a play that the offense makes that the defense isn't coming up there and like has 3 people on them and is not making big hits. And you could tell they just take great pride in it, and it's fantastic coaching. Vic has to be up for coordinator of the year, and it's not even close.
One of the things with the defense is that they seem rested because they're not on the field as much, right? And so in the beginning of the year, and probably leading up until week 6, is that they were on the field too much. and they were getting winded by, third, fourth quarter. Now they're really knocking them out, and they're playing like 3 downs, and they're going back to sit down. Now, if our offense could sustain a nice drive, they would get a longer rest and wear out the other defense. But in this case, in the last 2 weeks, it has been defensive battles, and our defense is definitely unnerving the other QB. And I don't think the other defense, the Lions or Packers, are unnerving Jalen. I just think something is off. The timing, the decisions, there's just no way at his caliber, and yes, I'm going to say caliber, that this stuff shouldn't work. But we've had enough of the offense talk.
Yeah, and I think that the positive is that let's look at this from the whole, is that they're not out there beating bums, okay?
Yep.
Going down the conference list, they're going to play Chicago, okay? So that one's there. But let's look at the top teams in the conference. The Rams, beat them. Lions, beat them. The Packers, you beat them. The Buccaneers, you beat them. And let alone Packers, you beat them in Lambeau. The Bucks, you beat them in Tampa. Name the team. Vikings,
KC,
you beat them.
You beat them.
Kansas City, you beat them in Kansas City. So these are all teams that in January, they're going to have to now come to Philly. So good luck, because there's 2 things that travel: a good running game and a good defense. Now, the running game hasn't been that great, but we have a suffocating defense. So those are teams that we've already beaten, that we have confidence in that we can beat them again. So it's not like they're out there beating scrubs. They're beating legit Super Bowl contenders out there.
3 things that travel: Eagles fans. Got to add them.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's
All right,
true.
but
We
Dan,
won't have to travel very far.
Dan, before I wrap things up, we got to talk about the Cowgirl predictions. And I had mine first last time. I'm going to let you go first. Do you predict that the Eagles are going to win or lose? And what would be your prediction for the score?
I actually have them winning 30-24 for this one.
30-24.
The Dallas defense is suspect. I think you're going to see a much better passing game. I don't think that the running game is going to look that great, because the interior of the Cowboys is pretty good, but I think you're actually going to see a better passing game in this one. And dare I say, bold prediction, Jalen Hurts over 225 yards.
Oh, by the way, okay, hold on. Hurts over 225 passing, right? You counting any rushing yards in there?
No rushing yards, but I will say he's going to have two plus touchdowns.
All right, 2+ TDs. Okay, now last week I did predict 2 defensive turnovers, only 1, but I think the block passes are kind of coming there. Right? You get a mulligan a little bit on there, and I did have Saquon over 100. That wasn't the case. What was actually Saquon's stats? I gotta go check this.
I think he had like 80 yards,
83
28 carries.
83, so almost over. Not bad. Hurts had 31 yards. Okay, so let me predict mine, and I'm not doing the prices right here, but kind of close to it. I picked 27-21. Eagles win. I have no parlay bets, no side bets on it. Yeah, I'm not sure I could even say 225 passing yards. I'm not sure. In fact, I was almost going less of like 17-10 on this, because of, the way it's been every week. We've been way above in the prediction, but yeah, I'm not going to add anything extra to it. I think that's just, if they get 27, and here's my prediction: they're going to get 27, and then Dallas will have 14, and then they might get another touchdown in the end, because you got to let this game go on and on for a little bit more and have us Eagles fans go crazy.
Yeah, like I said, Dallas's defense is suspect, but their offense is really good. So I think you're not going to see as much of domination on defense. But let me put it this way: if the Eagles' offense doesn't score points on the Dallas defense, then we've got way bigger issues than we even know of.
We'll be talking about that next week on how well they're doing.
I hope not.
Any other speculation? All right, everybody, I got to wrap things up. Dan, why don't you close us out?
Yeah, really hoping, it's Cowgirls week, but it doesn't feel like a Cowgirls week to me. It feels more like a bitch fest because of everything that's going on. But you know what? Our birds keep winning and they keep moving on, and just enjoy the ride. As fans, enjoy the ride. Stop looking for things to pick apart and just enjoy yourself, because you know what? We have never seen this level of sustained success. So go birds.
All right, everybody. This has been the Philly Fan Radio. I'm John Myer along with Dan Palmieri. Go Birds.
Go birds.